I think. I'm going to record it so that people can watch it if they didn't get to see it. And when I do that, I'll have a recording of the chat as well, so that all the questions will be answered. I also have a form at the end that you can fill out questions if I didn't get to your question. If I'm a parent in the district as well, and if you're like me, I could fill the entire hour that we have together with questions about tomorrow and about a week from now and about everything that's going on. And we can't do that tonight. And I will be honest with you, I don't have a lot of those answers, but I'll probably do a recording and or a document where I send, with the questions asked, I'll send answers that you can find the answer and or the person that can answer it. So I want you to know I'm not checking the chat while we're active. Okay, and now I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see where this is. There we go. We are all learning as we go with this. It's quite funny. Okay, here we go. All right. So I want to talk about real quick just who I am. My name's Mary Stevens, and I was a teacher and then a school counselor, and now I'm what we call a PBSES coach, and I'll tell you what that is in just a minute. I have two kids. I have a 14-year-old boy and a 16-year-old boy, and this year, for the first time, they're both going to Skyline High School, which makes me tear up a little bit, to be honest. I can't believe I have two high schoolers. One of them is driving, and I'm watching him go off already into this distance, and it's a little emotional. I loved the middle school years with them, and they drove me crazy. When I say I loved them, it means that I thought I was going to kill them most of the time. So I am going to talk tonight about ways to make that easier for all of us, and kind of a peek into middle school and how you can make it better for your family and for just everybody, all of us. Why are we here tonight? We're here to learn about Issaquah Middle School. So every middle school, I think, in the world is different. And I want to tell you a lot about our school. I also want to have you learn about our social emotional learning. Oftentimes we say SEL, and nobody really knows what we're talking about. And I guarantee that most middle school kids, including mine, say, oh my gosh, that's so stupid. I don't want to do that. So I want to tell you what it is before you get that version. And then my whole goal tonight with us is to reduce our anxiety, because you are going to be okay. Your kids are going to be okay. We are here for you. We're not letting you into this school where you don't have support. I envisioned middle school being elementary schools, this safe place, and I was going into a middle school where they wouldn't care about me at all or my kids, and that's not what it is. So I'm hoping tonight with this presentation that your anxiety will go down and you'll be able to then work with your kids with a little more big, deep breaths. And I'm working with the staff on deep breaths too, because we are all taking deep breaths a lot these days. Okay, so my job, it's a mouthful. I am a positive behavioral and social emotional support coach. I work with teachers, I work with students. I have 4 components that are the big parts of my job. One is called PBIS. That's where we take all of the behavior stuff that happens and we want to have a positive outcome with that. We also want to be proactive. So we look at behavior and we think, what's going to happen with most middle school kids? How can we teach what to do? How can we then reteach it and practice it? And then when stuff goes wrong, how can we deal with it in a positive way so that kids actually want to do better? So that's the PBIS part. The SEL part is the social emotional learning. 2 years ago, our district adopted Second Step, and that is done by a Seattle company called Committee for Children. It's a research-based social emotional curriculum that is web-based actually, and they have cool videos and discussion questions. If we were in person, that would be done in person at their advisory homeroom time, which we have every day when we're in person. Remote learning, we have 1 day of it, and that's on Wednesdays. And we will have a social emotional lesson every single Wednesday, mixed in with some nuts and bolts things as well. But I'm going to talk tonight about what that really means. The other part of my job is positive relationships. So I help IMS focus on how to build relationships with students, how to build relationships among staff, how to, when you are close to someone and you have a relationship with them, you trust them more. All of us had a favorite teacher that we wanted to do well for. We really work hard at IMS at building relationships with kids so that they can achieve. The last thing I work on is proactive classroom management. And all of the management strategies that I teach staff and that I model have to do with the positive, the how to organize, how to get ahead of things, be proactive. So that's the other piece of my job. I love my job. It's an awesome job. I've been at Issaquah Middle School now for 6 years. I'm the only coach in the district that's been at one school that long, so it's pretty fun. At the heart of us, we want kids to learn. So kids learn best when an environment is predictable, when it's consistent, when it's stable, and when it's positive. All of those things are super important to us, and everything we do is focused to make this happen for your kid. I'm gonna skip that one. Okay, big, scary middle school. When my kids were going into middle school, I was scared, they were scared. It's hysterical that all of the things that you were told when you were young about going into middle school or high school, all of those rumors are still out there. Flushing your head in a toilet, that's still out there. These kids scare each other into thinking that it's a big, scary place. Tonight, I want to show you that it's not. This is not, it's a bigger place than the elementary school, but the people in it are what make it great. So we're going to talk tonight about the myths that you're going to hear from your kids or from other people about middle school. The first myth is that teachers are mean and they don't care. And my kids came home with this in 5th grade. They're like, oh my gosh, I heard all the teachers at Pine Lake Middle School are mean. And, you know, of course, as a parent and as a teacher, I'm like, they're not mean. They can't be mean. And, you know, I had to come up with something to say to them. So I said to them, wow, I remember feeling like that at your age. Because I don't say yes, I don't say no, I don't tell them it's silly. But the fact is the teachers are not mean human beings. They may be stressed, and I teach the kids that. They may be overwhelmed sometimes and they get short. But then I turn it back on myself as a parent and go, I do that every day. So they're not mean. Let's figure out how to talk to them. I remember feeling like that at your age, and I do. The other thing that I was told a lot when I had kids growing up is this is the time to let them fail. And I remember being confused by that because I don't want to let my kids fail, but I also don't want to rescue them. And, you know, all over Facebook is the helicopter parent, all of the things that I should be doing. And I really didn't know what I was doing. How do I let them fail? And I don't want to. So I'm here to tell you tonight that we are not in the business at Issaquah Middle School of letting kids fail. We are in the business of growing these kids. We are not letting them fail. Our job is to teach them, to challenge them, and support them. We are a team of teachers, but we also are a team with you. So we want middle schoolers to learn some independence and some things, but it's not go do this, and if you fail at it, you're just going to fail. We do not want your kids to fail at this. This is not something, that's not the environment we want. We want, oh, you're confused by this, let's figure that out. Oh, I see that you're missing a whole bunch of stuff, let's figure that out. We want to do that as a team with you. Communication in a team is key. If you are confused about something, reach out to the teacher. There'll be an inbox and email. We have got to communicate with each other because if we don't, the kids, and my children, by the way, are very good at telling me things that aren't true. I don't know if your kids do that, mine do. And they'll definitely put it in their adolescent perspective. So whenever I reach out to a teacher, I think of it like my team. I need to know what's going on so that we can problem solve this. So instead of pitting against, I want a team. We all want a team with you. And I remember when my oldest one was in middle school and I thought, oh my gosh, this is by far the hardest of the parenting yet. Like I thought I was tired when they were 2. When they were 13, I was the most tired and it was hard and I didn't know what to do. And I love this quote. A team that sweats together sticks together. And I love that because that's how I view all of us in this middle school world. We are going to sweat a lot together because kids at this age are learning a lot quickly. So we get to go through that with them, which is quite difficult at times. The other thing you're going to hear is middle school doesn't count. So you will say to your kids, do your homework, get everything done, this is important. And they'll say, well, Mom, middle school doesn't count anyway. It doesn't count till high school. And we hear this in classrooms, we hear it in hallways. So this is constantly my answer at school and to my own kids. Middle school is the place to learn organization and study skills so that you can achieve the success in life that you want. All of this work pays off, all of it. It's going to make your whole life easier if you learn how to organize your stuff while you have 6 periods and 6 different teachers. This is the beginning of you starting to sort things out, figure out how to organize yourself, figure out how to use a calendar or a planner or whatever you're going to use your phone, however you're going to keep track of your stuff. That is more important than any grade. So consistently, when in middle school, yes, they're right. You know, in movies, in the 80s movies, they always, and in my life, I was in trouble a lot as a kid. I was in the office when I was in 6th grade more than I was in the classroom. And the principal always used to say to me, this is going on your permanent record. And I don't know where that record is today, but I would like to see it because I'm sure it's this thick. But the permanent record is not the grades. It's what you are doing to prepare for success. I would rather kids struggle in 6th grade to figure all that out and learn and get shored up and not have straight A's and have them learn how to do it so that in 7th grade they come in ready. That's what we want. That is not letting them fail. That is supporting them where they need it. Everyone gets what they need with this. The other thing you might hear is that, gosh, everyone's vaping. Everyone's being bullied or is a bully. Nobody has bedtimes. Everyone's allowed to stay out later than I am. Everyone has all this stuff. This is the beginning of everyone has all this stuff and I am the sad, sorry child that has the mean parents, right? So it's not true. It's not true. All of these things are not true. In our school, 95% of our kids want to do the right stuff. They are doing the right stuff. Just like in any population, you've got 5% even of Microsoft, you've got 5% of people who are not doing the right thing. The rest of our school, when you look up and look around, they are absolutely doing the right things, acting the same goofy way that adolescents act. So when I work with kids that come to me in my office and say this, you know, everybody's being mean, everybody is, you know, going somewhere after school and doing something that I shouldn't be doing, I encourage them to look up and look around. And that's hard in a remote environment. But when we're at the school, there are a lot of kids to connect to that are not doing that stuff. It also needs to be addressed. If you come home and your child is talking to you about something that is happening at school that is concerning, please reach out to admin. Do not let it go by. We want to support them. We want to. There's things we can do. We can keep it below, you know, quiet, whatever you need. Our administration is highly trained on this. Please get help. Do not let it go too far. And don't let your kids be miserable at our school. We don't want that, and it's not necessary. Okay, this is what middle school is. Middle school is a place to learn organization and study skills so that you can achieve. And I put in high school, but I really mean in life. This is the beginning of that. This is the beginning of them learning all this cool stuff. Middle school is a place to learn how to communicate with teachers. Huge. If we do this now, if we have our kids face the fear, because it is scary. The fear of authority is real. My oldest child is still scared to call a doctor, to call someone. He doesn't even want to call and make a tea time for golf. It is scary to do that. It's like building muscles. It's like lifting weights. When we say go talk to your teacher and they don't do it, what that teaches us is they're not ready. So in middle school, here's what we start to do. We say, I will go with you. I will get on the Zoom call with you in remote learning and we will have a conversation, but you will do the talking. We don't want to throw them into something that's so scary that they get terrorized. We want to support them in it and teach them. We often don't remember when we were taught that stuff, and maybe we weren't, maybe we just had to figure it out. But the best way in middle school is to take baby steps and teach. That's the life skill of middle school. That's so fun and so exciting. It's also a place to learn how to handle relationships and conflicts. So most of us, if I had time to talk to you in small groups, the majority of us would not have, either you've forgotten middle school because it was painful, or you don't want to remember it. It's not a great time for people. I have friends that have said, I would not go back to middle school for $1 million. That's pretty miserable in middle school. So in middle school, you are doing a lot of things that are hard. You're learning how to have friendships that may change. You're learning how to navigate different social groups. I have worked kids through having to switch from one social group to a total other one because of the choices that one of them is making. That's hard. It's very difficult. This is the time to be in pain with that. It's better now than later, but it is painful. It's hard. For adults, middle school is our time to learn about this age level. Those of you who your oldest one is going into 6th grade, get ready, because it is a roller coaster. And adolescents are their own little wacky, weird selves because their brains are growing. Middle school students usually have an attention span of 10 to 12 minutes. I've been starting to notice this with myself now that we're remote, is I don't have that, like I feel bad talking to you as long as I am tonight because I don't have the capacity to do this. I lose what I'm thinking about when I'm watching somebody on Zoom. Middle school is even worse. Middle schoolers' brain doesn't quite absorb. So at school, we really try to do 10 minutes of teaching, 2 minutes of a break, 10 minutes of teaching, 2 minutes of a break. We call it 10 and 2. We try so hard not to just talk at kids. Another thing about adolescents is that they misinterpret emotions 40% of the time. This was very big for me as a teacher and as a parent because my face often does this. Like when I'm talking, I get really intense, and middle schoolers will think that this is angry. And I have to be careful to lift up my eyebrows when I'm teaching so that they know that even if I'm like a little sterner, that I'm not mad at them. If they come home and say, this teacher was really angry today, think of this. 40% of the time, they don't match what the person thinks they're communicating and what the middle schooler hears and sees. Totally different. So we have to have an understanding about that. We listen to our kids and we hear it. But we don't just necessarily jump and say that person's being mean. I need more information when I hear stuff like that from this age. Another thing about adolescence is this brain growth from 10 years old to 15 years old is the second greatest brain growth in their whole lives. So when they were babies and they were learning how to walk, learning how to talk, and do you remember back then everybody's like, they are so smart. They can say banana. And we thought they were brilliant. And in adolescence, they do things like that. And we think, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? Because they're not quite as cute as they were then. Their brain is moving just as fast. It's remodeling, it's changing, it's growing, and it's a little kooky crazy in there. It's good for us to know so that we can relax a little bit when they're not perfect, because they're not going to be perfect and neither are we. I like to call this a squishy brain in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I use this a lot with teachers because oftentimes we will expect adolescents to act like adults. And we say, teachers will say, gosh, they came into my classroom and they didn't know that they needed a pencil. How could they think that they don't need a pencil? And all I can say to them is squishy brain. Their brain is remodeling. You will start to see your kids, if you haven't already, lose things. They'll lose everything. They can't find anything. All of these things that happen are just part of them. It's part of their brain getting remodeled, getting ready to be an adult. It's frustrating, but it's super important to remember. Oftentimes when my kids question my judgment or my decision, I say, I am not leaving this decision up to a squishy-brained person. And it brings humor into it, but I mean it. That's why we are the decision makers in our house, because we do not have squishy brains anymore. Okay, these are some things that you may hear in middle school. One of them, it's not my fault. It's never, ever an adolescent's fault, ever. No matter what, not even if you saw it. Another thing you're going to hear is, well, the teacher never told me to do that, right? In our world, I know that teachers are very explicit about what they're asking, and usually they have said it many, many, many times, but you're going to hear that a lot. The teacher never taught us what was on the test. I still hear this all the time from my older children. I'm going to say all of tests that are given are assessments of what they have taught, and they're usually very specific about what's going to be on the test. So this is like grain of salt stuff. The teacher is unfair. I think all of you by now have heard the unfair thing from kids. It's always unfair. Everyone else got a bad grade too. That was the one that I bought into for a while because I was like, oh, well, then it must be okay. Well, it doesn't okay. If everybody's getting a bad grade, I still want to know why my kid's getting the bad grade repeatedly. So I didn't love that one, but it was hard. And the teacher assigned this huge project yesterday, and it's all due today. And I didn't even know I had it. All of these things, I kind of go, well, and it's not that I tell my kid that I don't believe them. It's just that I have a grain of salt. If I hear these things, I am not emailing the teacher saying, you need to have some explaining to do to me, right? I'm teaming with the teacher and saying, so I'm wondering, because this is what he came home saying. So I'm going to check it out with the teacher and see what's going on. And I usually get more. The other thing that's super interesting is that when I started doing that and really checking in with the teacher, when my kids know that the team aspect is happening, I'm teaming with their teacher, less of this kind of stuff happens because I want to know more information and I will get more information. Okay, if my husband were standing here, he would laugh right now because I ride the roller coaster of my teenagers a lot. They're upset, I'm upset. They're happy, I'm thrilled. Like I do this with them and it's exhausting me. It's exhausting. And when I am in my healthy brain, I know that they are going to be upset 89% of their lives. It's never fair. It's never perfect. If I'm asking them to do something, it's not fair. It's not going to be good. And even if we're saying we're going to go to this really cool vacation, my kids will complain about it for 3 weeks before we go. And when we go, they'll have fun. But if they didn't want it or plan it, I tend to get on the roller coaster with them. As much as we can, staying off of their roller coaster and kind of being in the waiting line and watching them freak out is better. And this is a goal of mine in life to be able to do this. I got to watch my time. Okay. Here's some things that are helpful to say with teenagers. And when they come to you, it's kind of weird, this whole remote learning thing, because it's a whole different world for all of us. And we have to learn as we do this, what to say in this environment, because normally we'd go talk to the teacher. So when your kids come home or get off the call with something, it's helpful to say things like, it sounds like you need to stay in the meeting and I can be there to support, but it's the kid. Stay in the meeting and talk to your teacher or send your teacher a note in the inbox in Canvas. So our teachers are going to use this Canvas platform, and the whole first 2 weeks, by the way, we are just learning it. It's going to be hard, and we're going to learn it easier for the kids than us. But there's an inbox in there that is brilliant, and the teacher sees it right away. And so the inbox in Canvas is where they can do that. At the end of the live sessions, most teachers will say, if you have questions, stay in the meeting, stay here. And then there'll be another time at a different time, like on a Wednesday or something, that they will be able to come ask questions, or they can inbox. Each teacher will tell your kid when to come get help. As much as we can, my kids last year when they needed help would not get back on and talk to the teachers. Now that we are not in crisis mode, crazy fire hydrant in the face, we still are fire hydrant in the face, but we are now distance. This remote learning is different than last spring. We are working so diligently because we have to make this really, really good. We will have times to help these kids. There's para-educator hours that they'll have. There's after school help. We're working on getting some kids to do some tutoring on Wednesdays. We have to encourage them to go get that help. Another thing you could say is, would you like me to be at the meeting with you and support you while you talk to your teacher? That is a little bit of a help, right? We don't want them to fail, and I don't want them to not talk to the teacher because they're so scared. And you know your kids quite well. If they need that support, this is the time to give it to them, especially during remote learning. That sounds really hard. I know you can figure out a solution. Let's talk more. Because things are hard. They're going to face some things this year. Sixth graders, I'll be honest, when they come from one teacher to six, even when we're at school, it's a little like, whoa. And our sixth grade team, you guys, is fabulous. They are nurturing. We laugh because the difference between the sixth grade team and the eighth grade team is still nurturing, but they're more like, oh, we're getting them ready. And sixth grade, they're like, oh, you're so cute. You're so small, because all the sixth graders at the end of the year are tall. Your sixth graders, when they come to us, we think they are so cute. They're like the little puppies of the school, right? Nobody sees them and doesn't do this. We're all like, oh, they're so little. They're so cute. They're so cute. We want to help sixth graders. That is all we're about. So yes, we can figure this out with you. Never let your kids be totally unhappy with this. We can help you figure it out. Okay, so this is the counseling center people. Miss Atman is the registrar, and she's the person that does all the scheduling, all of the Skyward links, all the password stuff, all of that. Miss Austin, Miss Dotson, and Mr. Valdez are the counselors, and their alphabets are underneath their names, and they are the people to email if you have a question about your schedule, about if you want somebody to check in with you or with your child. Oftentimes they get contacted for supplies, all kinds of stuff. Catherine Lincecum is the last one on here, and she is our Swedish-based, school-based counselor. She is amazing. And she also meets one-on-one with kids. She's a therapist, and she can have kids referred to her through the counseling office. And so this is our superstar team, and we can help your kids. Reach out to these people when you need help. They are amazing. Okay, so that's middle school in a nutshell. Social emotional learning. We all have been in trauma in the last 7 months, and we have all dealt with it differently. We've all had different levels of it. But in my lifetime, it's the first time that every human in our area has had collective trauma. And what we know about trauma is that it magnifies everything, anxiety, any health issues, any mental health issues. It amplifies it all. And sibling unrest, like sibling fights, it amplifies. Any family stuff amplifies. Trauma is very hard, and social emotional learning deals with that stuff. So right now, Our teachers are also putting things into actual classes where they're getting to know the kids so that this relationship helps trauma. And that's what we want. So these first 2 weeks, as we go through with your kids, we are getting to know them and we're practicing Canvas, but we will not have any curriculum. It is all about learning the tech, building relationships with teachers, building relationships with those people in the class. We want to protect the kids first and then teach them. So when your kids tell you this week, I don't have any homework, you can believe them because they will not. And they are going to be taken care of by their teachers these next 2 weeks. We want to help them, get back into the flow and learn all of this interesting stuff, but it has to go slow and we need to build relationships. So social emotional learning, apart from the COVID stuff, talks about self-awareness. This program is so good that it makes me wish that I had it, because when I teach it, I go, oh my gosh, I wish I had had this when I was 15 or 19 or 35. The self-awareness that this teaches is out of this world. It's how do I feel? What am I feeling? Why am I angry? Why did I just get mad at that friend? Why am I sad? What's happening? It's a self-awareness piece that makes kids able to deal with their emotions. Another one is self-management. One thing that I often hear from people who teach a lot of this globally is, and I was at a workshop last week, raise your hand, and you don't have to raise your hand, but this is what they did to us. In your head, think, have you ever known anybody in your life that had problems managing anger? And the class that I was in had about 300 people, and there was not one person that did not raise their hand. The next question was, have you ever known someone or been someone that had trouble making or keeping close friendships or close relationships? Again, we all know someone like that. We may have been someone like that. So that's what social emotional learning is. So self-management is how to manage all of you, your organization skills, your school skills, your emotions, your feelings, all of that. We also teach social awareness. We teach things like, oh, when I come to 6th grade, some of the friends that were my friends may not be my friends, but I may meet new friends. And how do I do that? And what happens if I don't? How can I get help for it? Who can I talk to in the school for that? How can I get help? That is covered in this amazing program. The other thing is relationship skills. So we actually teach kids how to deal with conflict, big conflicts, serious conflicts, and then the little tiny conflicts that they go through. And it's the kind of teaching that you, as an adult, you go, oh yeah, I wish I had known that. I have literally been teaching this stuff to kids and going, I need to work on that in my marriage because I didn't learn that early enough, and I'm going to go home and do that, darn it. So this stuff is really good stuff. Now, here's the warning. Your kids might come home and say, this is really stupid, because they don't like talking about this stuff. I don't necessarily like talking about it with my parents, with my teachers. It's uncomfortable sometimes because it's somewhat new. But they hear it and they absorb it. And I'm amazed at the 6th graders that we started with and the 8th graders that we have and the kinds of things that they're able to talk about. It's blowing my mind at, even though they're resistant, they're getting it. It's that osmosis thing. It's kind of cool. The last thing is responsible decision making. If I do this, then it will be this, which is such a good thing. If then is something that they teach all the way through the program, and it's such a good mind thing for me even. If I do this, then that will be that. It's pretty cool. All right. SELs, the social emotional learning is on Wednesdays. So it's from, I always forget, 9:40 to 10:25, I think, on Wednesdays. And that's the only live thing that they have on Wednesdays. And that's it. So when they come, they will log in with their homeroom teacher, and that's a separate teacher. It's not one of their 6. It could be one of their 6, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. They will get to know that teacher, they will get to know each other, and all of this stuff will be delivered on Wednesdays. What we know about social emotional learning curriculum is that it lowers the risk of suicide ideation and behavior. It reduces depression. It boosts up resilience for hard things. And it supports active coping skills. So what the research shows is when we teach this stuff, no matter if they're resistant or not, when we teach it, they absorb it and they actually have better coping skills when they measure them later. It's pretty amazing. The other thing we know is that people who feel connected to a family or to a school or to humans do better academically, they do better socially, and they do better mentally. And that is research-based. It is not me saying, oh, they seem okay, they seem better. This is research-based. I think it's 11% better academically with social emotional learning programs in a school, which is outstanding to me, because at the end of the day, the primary purpose of a school is to teach and to teach kids to succeed. But with this, we get higher achievement. We get happier kids. I love this picture, and I show it to teachers every single year. It's a baby panther. And when kids come into us, this is what we have in our brain. And many of my teachers, when we're live in the building, they'll cut this out and they'll put it on their desktop monitor so that they remember that this is these kids. Most of these kids are going, hey, I just want to learn. I just want to connect with people. I just want to be okay, right? Super important. Okay. Now, this is the COVID part of the presentation. We don't know a lot for sure right now. It's super uncertain. I spent my whole summer thinking, I don't know. I was taking all these webinars, taking all these classes. Most of the teachers were taking classes all summer, getting ready for Canvas. We took trauma classes. We took how to connect remotely classes. I don't know a teacher that wasn't working hard this summer. Here's what we know for sure as a group. We know this year's going to be different. We know it is. That's a given, right? We are going to need to be patient and kind, all of us. I need to be patient and kind with my kids. I need to be patient and kind with the people that I'm working with. I certainly need it to stay married. We need to be patient and kind in all of this. So as a parent and as an educator, I beg you, when things are going wrong, take a deep breath and remember that we are all, including you, doing the very best we can. We are working so hard to make this go well. None of us want it to make your day harder or to make your kids cry or to make them miserable. We want the opposite of that, and we are working for it. So we need to bring in the patient and kind, and we are bringing that too. We are focusing on that in school with kids because the kids need patience. The kids need kindness. The kids need us to say, we're going to be okay. We got this. And I'll tell you what, it's super scary to say that when we feel like we don't, right? We're scared to death. And it's okay. I think the number one thing that's going to happen from this is that our kids are going to be so resilient because they are going to have lived through this. And they're going to go, look what we did. Their kids are never going to be able to complain about school. Talk about walking uphill both ways in the snow. They had to live with their parents for 8 months without leaving the house. Like, I would have never wanted to do that at 13. That would be awful. Okay, all of us want what's best for our students. You want what is best for your kids. You love your kids. I love my kids most days. We want the best. Every educator in our building wants that. In our district, we all want what is best for these kids. We are working so hard at that. We know that. That's part of our team belief. The other thing is our stress and anxiety is catching. It's contagious. That's more contagious than COVID, actually. So if I am really worried and amped up and nervous and I get angry when the computer crashes and I get angry when I can't find stuff, our kids, that's how they're going to see us coping. So more than ever, we are on stage for how to cope with this stress. Talk your way through it with your kids. This is super frustrating, but it's going to be okay. And they're going to be freaking out saying, my teacher's going to be so mad. We say, no, everyone understands right now that this is hard. If you cannot get on the meeting, that's okay. We will always have recordings. We will always have work that you can do to make up. It's never that you have to be on there because you have to be on there. It's just not. So nothing is, burn the house down, crazy, scary in school. We have to bring everything down and say it's going to be okay. I have already told my 2 children that this first 2 weeks is going to be really hard. There's going to be crashes. I don't even know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be a walk in the park. And I told them to get ready for it. I told them not to stress about it. We have got to make it okay because it's going to happen. We know things are going to go wrong. So if you haven't seen it yet, this is the Issaquah Middle School calendar schedule. I never can locate anything when I need to, I'll be honest with you. Like if I could show you my little desk area, that's a card table right here. It is piled with papers. I go back to the IMS website all the time and I search on the e-news. There's a little link that says past e-news, and that has any information that you would want there. It's all there. Another hack that I do is I go to the district website and I type in middle school schedule, and a whole bunch of stuff comes up, but I find what I need or something like it anyway. This is on our website, and it's really good. And most teachers will have this on their website or on their Canvas pages as well. But this is what it looks like. And I will be sending, I'm trying to think of how, this PowerPoint will be available on the next e-news, I believe. And so this will be there. This will be there as well. These are district resources. So it's the Canvas login information. If you go to the district website and just type in Canvas login and information, it's such a good little page for me. I bookmarked it because it has everything that I could ever need to know about how to get onto Canvas. The IT Student Help Desk is that phone number. Sometimes you leave a message and they get back to you. Sometimes they answer. This will be live tomorrow, I believe, with librarians. They're putting a ton of resources into that. So if you have problems with the hotspot, if you need a computer, all of that stuff. Then starting tomorrow, there's also a Canvas support help desk, which is that email. And I found all of this on the IMS web pages. And I will, once I stop talking, I will put this in the chat as well so that you can link to it. So this is an amazing website, and this is not COVID. This is just when I need help with parenting. It's called the ParentToolKit.com, and it has amazing resources. It has ideas. It has, you can go by age level. It has where your kids should be at, like what their brain's doing right now. It is such a cool website. I don't push websites a lot because there's so many of them. This one is my catch-all. I go to it quite often with my own kids, and it is a good one. So I am going to stop sharing right now, and I'm going to go to the chat. I don't think I did that right. Did I stop share? Yes, I did. Okay, now I have to collapse this. I can talk my way through. Okay, so I am going to take these links and put them in the chat so that you can have them. Copy. And then we have some time. I am so impressed that I went so fast. So we have some time. If you have questions, and I have not read the chat. Okay, there is the Canvas login. Let's see if I can do a couple things. Okay, copy. And that is the Canvas Help Desk email. And then this is the IT Student Help Desk for kids. Okay, now I can go back Will the students get IMS planners this year? Yes, I'm so glad somebody asked that. We have a bag that they're going to get with their textbooks and a planner. The planners have not come in yet, and I think the textbooks they're not giving out until September 21st. So our hope is that the planners are in, and then every student will get a planner. So yes, they are ordered and you will be getting them. Let's see, what else? I've got that about the planner. Also curious to hear about textbooks. Textbooks, same thing. So we will not be using the textbooks until at least September 21st. And that's when they will get their bags. And Carrie Reckling, the principal, will put all of that in e-news. And for those of you who are like me, who get 4,000 emails a day, she sent out an email yesterday and I think the day before, like the e-news stuff, where she does videos, and she has the most calming, wonderful voice, but she is so educational in it. Like, I watch her videos just so that I can learn, because she just has a very, very good way of teaching us things through video. So watch her little videos. They're not long, but they really inform you about how to find stuff. So that she will, when it's ready and we're scheduling pickups, she will send something out. Physical materials will be available for us to pick up. I'm not sure about that. I know that there are some things. I will ask Carrie that and I will send that out. What I'll probably do is put the answers to all of these questions in one of the e-newses, so that everybody's there. I'm going to stop.